This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hello, this is Agoro, host of the Agoro Show, and you are listening to the Steve and Crypto Show. So keep your ears open and your mouth shut.
Hey, welcome to the Steve and Crypto Show, presented by thestevestrout.com. I am Steve.
I'm Crypto Zoo. We are here, and it is episode 126 already. I know you guys have been waiting after listening to part one of our chat with Sam Irvin when part two was going to be heading your way. So we're here, and guess what? We got to pay the bills, as you could say, or cross our fingers and hope that some of you guys listening can help pay our bills because we're broke podcasters. So if you want to head over to patreon.com/SteveCrypto, you can check out some great content over there. We got a variety of things. Go to Patreon and check it out. Let us know what you think of it. Yep. A couple new things coming real soon. We're actually going to be recording a new Patreon segment right here after this segment we're recording right now. So stay tuned for the new stuff, but until then, go over to patreon.com/SteveCrypto and check out what we have to offer. Also, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/SteveCrypto and give us a little tip. You can contribute to the show, contribute to pretty much everything that involves the podcast. It helps towards getting us to the next live event, which we have several coming up down the pipeline. Helps out with merch, all kinds of different things. And if you want to keep up with our shenanigans online, follow the Steve Strout and CryptoZoo88 on X and Instagram, and
join the group.
We also have a Facebook group, of course, that we encourage you guys to join. Just look up Steve and Crypto Show and you'll find us. Also, if you are thirsty, which I know you are, then head over to expeditionroasters.com and use the code SteveCrypto when you get something in your box that you decide you can't live without. And I know you're going to find something because they have a lot of flavors to pick from.
It's coffee, by the way.
Yeah. So when you find something in your inbox, use the code SteveCrypto and we'll help you out with a little discount. You'll get a little something from your third favorite podcast. And we thank you guys for trying their coffee because we think it's badass. And you know what? You're going to look really good drinking that coffee if you're wearing a Steve and Crypto shirt or a hat. So you can start by going...
They also are going to need something to drink the coffee out of.
Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, you're not just going to slurp it off the table or something.
It's good enough that
if it's spilled, you would slurp it off the table.
I'm not wasting that shit.
Yeah.
No. Especially that cinnamon bun stuff. We're going to try a new flavor next time, though, by the way.
Yep. But, so, of course, you want a cup for your coffee. And that's where we come in. So head over to Etsy/shop/Steve and Crypto merch and get yourself a Steve and Crypto coffee mug. We have 2 different t-shirt designs over there. There's a magnet for your fridge. If you want a trucker hat, we still have a couple of those available. Just contact us directly to get those. And stickers as well. Everybody loves stickers. So if you want one, just answer some of the trivia in the previous episodes, and we'll be happy to send you a little sticker pack.
And of course, you can come see us at some events that we'll be mentioning in a few minutes, too.
That's right.
Stickers. We do have pins. We never mentioned the pins. That's why we don't ever mention the pins.
Yeah, they're
like
so neglected.
Fucking coolest thing we have, and we don't mention them.
They're pretty cool. We have a couple different versions of those, too. So
normally, they're $1 million each, but if you come and see us at an event, we'll give them to you for like $2.
That's right.
Or if you
hell of a discount.
Hit us up, and we'll send you one for $2 and whatever shipping costs. Shouldn't be that
The shipping costs $1 million.
Yeah. You can probably just
the button itself is only $2.
probably send us like $5 and we'll be able to mail you a couple pins and some stickers or something.
Yep.
And of course, that all goes back into the show, like you said, to get us to our events and advertise the show, get promotional materials and all that bullshit.
To improve our recording gear.
To improve
things like that.
Yeah, to improve us.
Things of that sort.
Yeah. And of course, the cups. I can't mention the cups enough.
Yeah.
The cups are awesome.
I just used mine this morning.
I used mine yesterday. And I did have a cup of Expedition Roasters cinnamon bun coffee, which was fucking still phenomenal.
Yeah.
You got a Steven Crypto shirt already? Go get some more shirts from Halloween Shirt Company. It's HalloweenShirtCompany.com. They have a collection of vintage-looking Halloween shirts, hats, merch, other kinds of clothing and collectibles and all kinds of stuff. It's a great company. Go check them out. First time you shop there, they give you a pretty good discount, so go do it up. Send them a message. Tell them Steven Crypto sent you. And they'll be, they probably won't give you any more discount, but they'll still be happy and appreciate you.
I believe the discount they're using right now is give me that 25, isn't it?
Yep, I don't know how long that's running, so
Yeah.
I didn't want to mention it.
Yeah.
But I know right now they're doing like a 25% off thing.
Yeah, by the time you listen to this, it may or may not be active still, but it's worth going to check.
Either way, they're still going to hook you up with something.
Yep.
A good deal.
Yeah, they have a really cool vintage look to a lot of their designs. I really dig them.
And with that being said, you guys heard at the top of the episode that we are part of the Deluxe Edition Network. It is a collective of independent podcasts, all different genres, horror, sports, comedy, movies, pop culture, all kinds of stuff. There's over 20 shows, and we're all there supporting each other and promoting each other. It's the Deluxe Edition Network. Find them on the social medias or go to deluxeeditionnetwork.com and you can find links to all the shows that are available through there. Excuse me, including us. And then every month there is a pair of podcasts of the month. September, which we're wrapping up, and honestly, I don't know if this episode is going to launch before the end of September. Like, everything is behind. Because the last episode you guys heard me, I was like dying on the microphone. And I'm finally getting my shit back together.
So by the time you're listening to this, there might be a new duo of podcasts for the month.
I'll let you guys know September
Yeah.
podcast of the month is the Broken System podcast and Quad Pro Quo. Both great shows.
Yep.
Check them out. We are very close to October, though. Halloween month, where we're going to have a lot of shit going on here, so hope you guys are ready because we're bringing it in October. But the Halloween, October, the whole October is Halloween.
The whole month is, it's just
it should
Halloween
just be called
month.
Halloween.
Yeah.
It should be fucking...
That's what I've been telling my oldest when he's
August,
like,
September,
when is my birthday? And
Halloween.
I'm like, well, he's like, is it next month? I'm like, no, next month is Halloween month.
Yeah, it's Halloween. Whoa,
That's
off.
pretty much my birthday.
Don't make this about you. This is Halloween. Kid.
Yeah.
But there's podcasts of the month for October are The Graveyard Club and Terror Tuesday. So those are both good shows. Terror Tuesday, we know, is a live Instagram chat every week. They're good people. She's featured, actually had on Matthew Mark Hunter, the filmmaker, for Nightmares Unleashed, which is coming very soon. To film I'm a producer on, and I cannot wait to see it.
Isn't that also the guy that's behind that movie? What was it called? I think somebody I know did a voice in it. Was it called Stoner Snakes?
Yeah, that was my my voice acting debut in Stoner Snakes. I was a snake named Milo. So if you watch the movie, it's up on YouTube now. It's actually gotten a couple nominations in independent horror film festivals for a horror comedy. and it was nominated for something else that I don't remember. I mean, it should have had a nomination for Best Actor for Milo the Snake.
It's
I nominate myself.
and for anybody wondering, like it's a fun time, and it's not really long either.
No, it's like under 20 minutes. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
And it's just kind of like a play on the whole druggy the animal craze that kind of went on.
Yeah, watch it with some friends.
Yeah, and you should probably get stoned like
Yeah.
the snakes.
Yeah.
You'll appreciate it more.
That would help.
But I did play it for an older gentleman. I had him check it out, and he's like, he said it was good. It was fun. He said
Yeah.
it'd pair well with some weed. I guess. Yes, sir, you're correct. But yeah, what was I saying? Graveyard Club and Terror Tuesday, the Deluxe Edition Network
check
podcast
'em
of the
out.
month for October. And as Crypto Zoo said, check them out. So yeah, we mentioned some shows coming up. I know Crypto has a couple performances coming and something that he's involved with booking. But as a collective for the Steven Crypto Show, let me run through a couple things we have coming. October 7th, we have the Fall Festicon in Kent, Washington at the Page Turner Books, where we've been before. And they really liked us there, so they wanted us back.
That's such a cool area.
It's that's that little neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah, just that one part of Kent is really cool. I mean, Kent is a cool little spot anyway, but
A lot of tweakers out there, but
yeah. But I've had some fun shows out there in the past.
yeah. And then it's right next door to Greg and Ann's shop, the Retro Emporium, which is one of the coolest stores around. So yeah, October 7th, Kent, Washington. Page Turner Books. It's going to be authors, artists, tarot readers, special guests, us, Steven Crypto. We'll all be there. And then we have October 13th and 14th. We have the Witches Walk Fright Night in Port Townsend. You guys will hear more about that. Maybe we'll even record some segments there to share during Halloween month.
Yeah.
And then October 11th, one of our favorite conventions in the Northwest, Grit City Comic Show. We will be there with Russell Hodgkinson from Z Nation, hanging with him and all our friends in beautiful Tacoma, Washington. And I should have silenced my phone before we started, but whatever. It's all good. So yeah, you're going to be performing.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a couple things popping up. Only one of these I'm actually performing at.
You should perform at the other one.
I probably could, but
You should just jump up and do like 2 songs. Do like Crazy or something. Just
I might.
and then be like, hey, that fucking beat from that song, we use that in as our podcast introduction music.
Yeah.
And then just, yeah.
I might do that. We'll see.
If you're going to do that, I'll make sure we'll record you.
Okay.
I'll film you.
Okay. Well, I might do it now just for that.
Just to do, just 1 or 2 fucking things, and I'll record it pretty good for you, and we can share it with people.
Yeah.
They might want to see it. I don't know. Whatever. It's up to you.
Yeah, we'll see. I've already been thinking about that today, whereas some things changed for the show format and all that. So,
Just be
I
like
was
fucking just
debating.
Because your DJ could play your shit for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've worked with him.
Yep. Rob's the
Plenty.
man. I'm definitely familiar with working with him. So you mentioned October 14th. So you and I are going to have our thing downtown at the Spooktacular event. We're going to be there, like you said, kind of doing some maybe on-spot interviews, and just maybe we'll go live and show people that can't
We're going to
make
be like
it there.
signing autographs and shit and meet and greet, taking photos with children. And
We'll probably go live and show people like what we're working with down there. And the 13th, they're going to have a couple rock bands play, and it's like a 21 and up thing. And the 14th is more all ages during the day. And so that evening, after we're done with the Spooktacular, I'm going to head out to Spanaway, Washington. So anybody in Spanaway, Tacoma, Seattle area, if you're looking for some live hip hop, please come out and check out this lineup of, a fair amount of talent here that honestly I'm not familiar with, but I say that in a positive way because it's always nice to go to a show and like see a bunch of new talent.
I know the poster looks pretty good.
Yeah.
They did a good job with that.
So Cole Z is going to be the headliner. And then we also have The Apostle, Young LA, Choir Boy, myself, Buck the Trend, with special guest Takeover Collective. Again, Saturday, October 14th, shows at 8 o'clock. We're going to be at Sam's Bar, which is on South Pacific Avenue in Spanaway. $10 pre-sale, 15-day of show. Buck Wild is hosting, 21 and up. Come check it out. I hope to see you.
And you also have a hand in a Halloween party here in our town, which is probably worth mentioning because we do have a national touring hip-hop performer coming through.
Of course, yeah. So I've been working on this one, trying to make it a reality, and I'm finally able to say that it's happening now. So after 7 years, Kung Fu Vampire is going to be coming back out to Jefferson County, back out to our little corner of the Northwest. He's doing a Pacific Northwest tour with his drummer Adson Paxton and Doc Vore. And so we're going to have them out at the old alcohol plant on Halloween night. And it's 15 advance, 20 at the door. From 3 to 5, we're going to have like a trunk or treat event. And then 6 to about 7:30, DJ Robotics is going to be playing and kind of keeping the dance vibes. And we're probably going to stop around 7, take a little break in the middle and do a costume contest. Then we'll kick the music back on. And then 7:30 to 9 is Kung Fu Vampire and Doc Vore. And they're going to end the night. The whole thing is going to be done around 9 o'clock. Just so if anybody listening is thinking like, that's a Tuesday, I got work the next day, my kids have school, whatever.
You'll be home by 10.
Yeah, you'll be home at a decent time, especially anybody that's local that's listening. Like, it's not far from home at all. So you'll be able to still get home at a decent time, get a good amount of sleep.
And raid some of your kids' candy while they're sleeping.
Yeah.
Take the good shit.
Yeah.
All the crap.
And so the old alcohol plant is a hotel. They also have a bar and a restaurant in there. So anybody that's thinking about coming to the show, come out, maybe stay the night if you can, or just come out and have dinner before the show and then dance for a little while before Kung Fu tears up the room.
You could dance while he's performing too, though.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, you don't have to stop when
stop.
when they start playing. But yeah,
October 31st.
Really looking forward to this one. And I know Kung Fu is as well. He's excited to come back. A handful of people asked about him returning after the last show, and I'm hoping that some of those people that were at the All Ages show bring friends, but also maybe some of them are old enough to where they can attend this one now. Yeah.
They were 15 then, now they're 21. So
I know at least one or two of the kids that were there. One of them actually got on stage for the little, like the rap thing. Well, I'm sorry, that was the first show that Kung Fu did out here, but there was a cipher. And Gmo Ski put it together. Yeah, he had a whole bunch of us get up on stage. And one of those kids back then was probably like, I don't know, 12, 13. So
he still wouldn't be old enough.
Well, that was 2014.
Which was 9 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably off on his age, too. I don't remember how old he was, but I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure I've seen him around now, and I think he just turned 21, like in July.
Well, we better find him and tell him to come to the show.
Yeah.
Anyway,
hopefully he's listening.
October 31st, Halloween.
Yeah.
If you're
come party with Kung Fu Vampire.
If you're in the Northwest, come up.
We'll be there. Steve better be there.
Probably.
It's not far from his house.
It's. I can see the place from my house, but I'm also old.
But it'll be done by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll be there. If anybody posts on social media that they're going to come to the show, I'll make sure to come.
But I know this is for anybody listening that's local. I know some of you guys are looking for something to do on Halloween because, you know, things have changed in the last few years. We don't have all the same entertainment around here that we used to. But we're doing our best to try to provide something around here, and especially for a younger crowd too. I'm trying to provide, like with myself and Steve and some other people around here, we're doing our best to try to provide some entertainment for a younger group. So
Is that why we're doing this podcast?
yeah.
This is for us, sort of.
But if you enjoy it, then we thank you.
Yeah. Yes. You mentioned earlier on that we had Sam Irvin on. You guys listened to part 1, and he talked about shit. What did he talk about? He talked about his books, and he kind of keeps that story going on here in part 2 of the conversation. Tells stories about, you know, meeting Christopher Lee and Vincent Price and all like the who's who, like horror royalty and legends. He got some good stories, and definitely enjoy the rest of this conversation with Sam Irvin, and go get his books. Support this guy. Get his books. I'm sure doing the Hallmark Christmas movies isn't as lucrative as one might think.
And this is just a wild guess, but I would like to guess that his heart might be a little bit more invested in the books.
Oh, he puts so much of his heart and soul into these books. Are like him. He bears a lot in these books, like especially the Monster Hunter book, the first one. He like tells, you know, deep stories, and there's a lot of emotion and stuff in it. So yeah, check out his books. Check out the rest of this conversation. Find him on social media. Let him know that you listened and enjoyed hearing his story, and say hi to him. He's a good dude. He's a celebrity of sorts, but he's just so accessible. So it's, I'm lucky to consider him a friend, and he's a good dude. So enjoy the rest of this, and we will be back to say goodbye.
We all love a good ghost story, but have you ever wondered how it came to be?
Have you ever wanted to dig deeper into the true history of your favorite stories of the macabre?
How about whether or not it really went down that way?
Join us bi-weekly on Ghoulish Tendencies podcast, where we, two paranormal investigators, delve into the depths of the famous and not so famous cases of murder, ghosts, legends, and lore, with a healthy dose of debunking.
I'm Gabby, the resident Mulder.
And I'm Kim, the resident Scully.
And we're your ghostesses of Ghoulish Tendencies podcast, found wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay spooky!
You're listening to the Steve and Crypto podcast. This is Jack Rudo from the Stapled Spine fanzine here in Horror, Oregon. We write and publish everything from horror comics, bands, movies, puzzles, mazes, dirty jokes, sometimes boobs. I don't know. Come find us. StapledSpine.com.
Were you one of those kids that took care of all your stuff and saved it? Do you have a lot of these gifts and posters and everything still in your collection?
I wish. It's so depressing. But over the years, because I'm, in a freelance or in a crazy business, whether it's feast or famine, there were just millions of times when it was famine and I would have to sell off things to get by. And over the years, I've pretty much sold off all of my posters and all of my magazines. I mean, I had a complete set of Famous Monsters, including issue number 1 and, things like that I still wish I had now. But all of it's pretty much gone. I do still have an original 6 sheet of Cat People, the Val Lewton film with Simone, which is a prized possession of mine, and that is 81 by 81 inches. It's absolutely huge, and it's framed here in my living room. And I have a few other things, but if it's not up on the walls, and our wall space is very limited, and my husband doesn't want the walls filled with horror stuff everywhere, so there is an eclectic mixture of things that we have on the walls.
That's how my fiance is. Same thing.
Yeah.
If it was up to me, the walls would be covered.
Yeah, but otherwise the walls would be covered. No, everything's a negotiation on the walls. But now, I couldn't even. There's not room to put a postage stamp up on our walls. But if it's not on the walls, if it's just going to be sitting in the closet or in storage, I'm tempted to sell it because I'm getting older, and when I pass on, I'm just why is anybody going to know what this stuff is or what it's worth or whatever else? Might as well enjoy the money now.
Yeah, and then
let
give somebody else that awesome collectible and that memory, and for sure. I know one of the coolest stories from your Monster Hunter book was about we're talking about collectibles and stuff, is the gift, the little trinket from Vincent.
Oh,
you were out antiquing with him.
Yes.
Still got that, right?
Vincent, this was kind of the weekend when the romance part of it kind of was on fire. He invited me for the weekend to come up to the north of New York, where he was in New Haven, where he was performing his one-man show of Oscar Wilde.
Good old New Haven.
And I was, let's see, this would have been about 1979 when I was working for De Palma, and we were just getting ready to start shooting Dress to Kill, as I recall. But anyway, I went up there for the weekend. I was probably, 79, I would have been 23, I guess, 22, 23. And I stayed at the same hotel. He wanted me to, and I had the new script for the film that I was developing for he and Coral. So I was delivering the first draft of the script. He'd read the extensive treatment and different things. And so it was partly business and partly, everything, but it was, it was going to be a lot more intimate in a off the beaten path place like this than the times when I would see him in New York, and he'd be so busy and socializing with everybody in the world. And so he had me come to his hotel room, and I went there, and he opened the door, and he was wearing this floor-length red kind of dressing gown or dressing robe, and it was absolutely beautiful. And he had me come in, and we I could tell he was being more flirtatious than I had ever seen before. And we hadn't been really alone, just the two of us, that much. We would meet in restaurants, or we would meet with Coral, or different things. But this was just one-on-one. And then he we had some drinks and everything. And when I described this in the book, that his flirtation was not chasing me around the table. It was much more intellectual and verbal. And he would talk about he talked about how he'd been married a couple times and stuff, and he said that occasionally he was open for business on the side, was the phrase that he used. And he didn't really use pronouns, so it wasn't absolutely clear, what sex the people that he had affairs with he was very cagey about making it a little vague. And, but I knew what he was getting at. And I always suspected that he was gay. And, I was definitely gay, but I happened to be married to a woman at that time, just like he was married to Coral. And, but I knew where this was headed, and I could just tell. And he eventually worked around the conversation to asking if I was monogamous with my wife. And I knew that was the turning point question. My answer to that question was going to determine where he was going to go next. And I decided that I think it's going to be better for both of us if I white lie, because I was not faithful to my wife, but I said, yes, I'm monogamous to my wife. And that kind of cooled things off. And he respected that like a gentleman that he was. And we turned the conversation to business and talking about the script and, whatever else. Had I answered differently, I think that the whole conversation
what could have happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have, he would have made a pass. I mean, you could say it was already a pass, but
yeah,
it was, I knew where it would have gone if I had answered that question differently. Yeah. But we still had an absolutely lovely weekend together, and the next day, he had this catered brunch for me in his room, and it was just absolutely gorgeously beautiful with flowers and eggs Benedict, and this chef who was this wonderful chef who ran the restaurant there, personally came and set up the table and had cloches that they lifted up when it was time for us to eat, and it was just all fabulous. And but after we finished eating, then he said, I'm going antiquing this afternoon. Would you like to come with me? And I was like, oh my God, yes. Vincent is known. He's an expert in art. He was hired by Sears to be their art buyer, and he had written and published these beautiful art books and, collections of art from around the world. And so, yeah, I was absolutely on board for that. And he took me to this antique mall that he had been to before and really loved it. And I admired this porcelain of Mephistopheles. And it was dressed in red, oddly enough, the same color of the red robe that Vincent had been wearing that weekend. And his face looked a little bit like Vincent, actually. And I remarked on that, and I showed this porcelain. It was about 6 inches, 6 or 7 inches high. And Vincent said, "Oh, you have very good taste. That's a Hutchenruther. It's a great German porcelain maker, and that's a beautiful piece." And so then, I put it back on the shelf, and when we got up to, he found a piece of art that he liked, and when we got up to pay for it, he suddenly had this Mephistopheles there, and he bought it for me as a gift, and I still have it to this day. It's actually in the other room, and it just, it's something that means the world to me, and it was just such a lovely gesture for him to do, and an expensive one. And anyway, it was fabulous. So that's definitely a piece that I would never sell, and it will be with me the rest of my life. And anyway, it was just a very, very special weekend and a very special gift for that weekend.
Yeah, I'd say, I feel like probably the direction you went with the private conversations probably strengthened your friendship with him too. Because I think if it would have went the other way, it would have caused
problems.
Yeah.
caused issues. And you know, I think you're right. I did end up divorcing my wife. A couple years later, I met a guy who I'm still with to this day after 41 years and counting. His name's Gary Bowers, and we're married now and everything. But I ran into Gary and I in right maybe I forget the year, maybe about 1987, maybe 88, somewhere in there. We went uptown to see the new John Borman film. Gosh, now the name of the film is escaping me. It was about the family during World War II. Um, we went up to the theater to see that. We bought our tickets, but we were there early, and we decided to go across the street to Bloomingdale's and kill time, look at the men's department, and Gary drifted over to the men's fragrance department and was, you know, sampling some of the samples. And I look over my shoulder, and there's Vincent Price. This is, you know, I ran into him coincidentally at that theater in London when I went to see Diana Rigg. I ran into him coincidentally 2 or 3 other times in my life. It's just so bizarre how I would just keep running into him. I ran into him in an elevator with my parents one time at a hotel in New York. Anyway, there's Vincent, and I before I could open my mouth, he says, "Sam, what are you doing here?" It was his standard line every time he would see me. And I made a joke by saying I was here looking for Christopher Lee. And anyway, and then I said, "Vincent, I want you to meet my boyfriend, Gary Bowers." And Vincent got this huge kind of sly smile on his face and putting all the pieces together and understanding now that I've divorced my wife and that I've come out as gay and everything else. It was just very amusing to him. And he said to Gary, I'll never forget it. He said, "So you're the lucky one," which was, again, his sly way of saying that he had, that he had kind of wanted. He wanted to be the lucky one, and it was a little bit of reading between the lines of that. And, it was just very cute. And I love the way he handled it. Anyway, it turned out, I said, well, we're actually going to the John Borman film. And we were just killing time. And he said, "Oh my God, that's exactly what I'm doing. Coral and I came to see the same movie and we have tickets." And so we all sat together in the theater, watched the film. And it was just, again, just one of those weird, serendipitous, hair on the back of your neck, stand on end kind of meetings. And it was just perfect. And that it might have been the last time that we saw each other in person. I can't remember. I might have seen him one other time, but at any rate, it was really great to see he and Coral one last time. And I'm really glad that Vincent got to meet Gary, because Gary's such a big part of my life, and that was really lovely too. So anyway, it was great. It was just fantastic.
What were Gary's thoughts on meeting Vincent? Was it was it a starstruck thing, or was it just like,
No.
"Oh, you really do know him? I thought you were bullshitting all this time"? Or
I think it was both. I think it was both. I think he was very impressed, and very impressed that Vincent knew me, by name and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely, but I mean, he knew me around other celebrities, so I don't think it was complete shock, but he was a big fan of Vincent as well. I mean, he's not a huge horror film guy like I am, especially the classic, but Vincent is Vincent. I mean, Vincent's done all kinds of films, and he loves Laura and some of the other kinds of films that he did. So he was very starstruck to see him, and very honored to get to meet him in that way.
yeah. So, is there anybody that you didn't encounter that you wish you could have or had opportunity and kind of missed out on?
Yes. I would have loved, loved, loved to have met Boris Karloff. He passed away in 1969 when I was, like 14, or 13, I guess, 13. So, if I had somehow had the luck to be able to run into him, like when we came out to California or, something. I mean, I always wish that somehow that could have happened because Bride of Frankenstein is my favorite film of all time. I would have loved to have met Elsa Lanchester, and she was around when I probably could have if I'd worked on it harder. And there was, Lon Chaney Jr. was alive during my lifetime into the 70s, and I would have loved to have met him. Bela Lugosi died the year I was born, so that was that was not going to happen. He died like 2 months after I was born. So yeah, those were definitely the horror royalty that I would have loved to have encountered. I almost didn't get to meet Peter Cushing in person. We had corresponded a lot. I had interviewed him through the mail with the questionnaire for my fanzine. Both times that I came to London, the first time he had given me his number, just like Christopher Lee had, and wanted to meet with me. And when I called him, unfortunately, he was under the weather, and he said, "I'm just not feeling well. I shouldn't make the trip into London. We'll do it next time." Well, I made sure there was a next time, and it was the next summer. And I called him, but he didn't answer, and I kept calling and calling. And then lo and behold, I find out he is in Florida. I leave the United States hoping to meet him in London, and he leaves London and comes to the United States. It's like, great, perfect timing. He was in Florida shooting Shockwaves, the Nazi zombie movie with he and John Carradine and Brooke Adams. And so the timing just and everything just wasn't working out, and I was getting very frustrated because I so much wanted to meet the guy in person. Well, I had interviewed Ingrid Pitt. I had interviewed her through the mail with a questionnaire, and then when I came to London the first time, we met in person, and I interviewed her in person, and we became really fast friends. She was just the most hilarious lady. And Ingrid Pitt, of course, from The Vampire Lovers and Countess Dracula and House that Dripped Blood and The Wicker Man. I mean, she had done a whole bunch of horror films, and I absolutely loved her. And so we became really good friends. And then the second time I came to London, we hung out and went to dinner and different stuff. Well, that second time I came, when that was the summer of 75, and that's when Peter Cushing was in Florida shooting Shockwaves. And I was bemoaning to her over dinner, how I'm getting really frustrated that I can't meet Peter Cushing in person. And she thought it was hilarious that, it just kept not working out. Well, that very same year, I get a letter from Ingrid in the fall. After I sent her the issue of the magazine, my latest one, and I get this letter from her and it's addressed from like Argentina, where she's shooting a movie. And she said, "Dear Sam, I have been invited to New York in November to be the guest at the Famous Monsters of Filmland convention. And would you like to come and be my aide de camp?" Now, I didn't know what aide de camp meant. I had to go look it up in a dictionary. But of course, it means, to be her assistant or, just companion and bodyguard and, all hyphenated together. And, I'm like, oh my God, yes. So I wrote her back and said, absolutely, yes. I'll get my parents to let me go up there. I had two cousins who lived in New York, so I knew I'd be able to crash in one of their apartments. And so, the answer was a resounding yes, 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 yes. Okay, well, then as it gets closer to the convention, they announce, like very close to the convention, like maybe just a week or 10 days before, that they've added another special guest, which is Peter Cushing. And I was dancing for joy. And so when I get there, I find Ingrid in the lobby of the hotel. We meet there. And she goes, Sam, I know you've heard the news. Peter's going to be here, and I'm going to make sure that you get to spend some quality time with him. And I said, oh my God, this is fabulous. And she did, boy. We got, we were, Siamese twins the whole weekend, attached at the hip. And we went to this VIP dinner, and they had name cards where they had placed her right next to Peter, and then they had a card for me next to her. Well, she switched the cards because she was going to put me right next to Peter in between. And so sweet of her, so incredibly sweet. And they were cross talking, back and forth because they were really good friends. And but it was just so nice to be able to be, in the middle of everything. And Peter, by the way, it was just like Vincent Price. As soon as he met me, as soon as, I came in with Ingrid, he said, you must be Sam Irvin. And, and how's your magazine and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was just like he knew me. And he couldn't have been nicer, and just the sweetest man. I mean, everybody who's ever met him will tell you he's just the most gentle, most polite, loveliest gentleman ever. And all the quirks were there. He always wore one white glove, which was his smoking hand, because he didn't want to get nicotine stains on his fingers. And, just all the cliches and all the things that you hear, it was there in force. And, it was just fabulous, just incredibly great. But at that dinner, I mean, that table was something. I mean, it was, Ingrid Pitt, then me, then Peter Cushing, then Michael Carreras, head of Hammer Films, then Barbara Lee on the other side of Michael Carreras, who played, who they had cast as Vampirella, a film that never got off the ground, unfortunately, that was also going to have Peter Cushing in it. But they presented her that weekend as though the film was really going to happen, and she appeared in her Vampirella costume and blah, blah, blah. And then next to Barbara Lee was James Warren, who was the publisher of the Famous Monsters and also Creepy, Eerie, and Vampirella magazines. And then next to him was Forrest J. Ackerman, who was the editor of Famous Monsters. And next to him was Kathy Laurie, who was Peter Laurie's daughter. And then next to her was Leonard Woolf, who had written the annotated Dracula and was a real expert on Frankenstein and Dracula literature, and then me again. So it was just the table, I guess, of 9 people. And just, again, I just somehow lucked out and kind of getting on the inside of these kind of events and different things that happen. I just always somehow had the luck to not always be on the outside as just a fan, but actually, getting invited or into these situations where I would be, with all of my idols. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Lots of luck and hustling.
Yeah. And kind of making it happen on my own, I learned that nobody's going to do it for you. You're going to do it. You got to just put yourself out there. You got to, the way I met De Palma, I found in the trade journals a listing that Carrie was in early pre-production, and they had a casting office number. And I just called cold the casting office number, and they put him right on the phone. Now, that would not happen nowadays, but there was less concerns about, crazy fans, I guess. And they put him right on the phone. And I said, I'm doing this little festival of your films in the University of South Carolina, and would you come? And he said, well, hey, I'm out here in California. I live in New York. I'm broke. I really need some stuff at my apartment. If you'll give me the airfare from LA to South Carolina, then to New York for the weekend and back to LA, I'll come for the Triangle airfare. And I said, done. Because we had a budget. I was running the campus movie theater, and we had a budget for special events and stuff. And so we had the money to do it. And so that's how I met him. I just cold called a number that and they put him right on. I mean, and that's what started the ball rolling. And lo and behold, ended up being his assistant for years. And that launched I mean, I went to film school, but I really went to film school. My film school was being on his sets and working with him behind the scenes and prepping his films and everything. I mean, I learned everything. And every time I direct any movie or TV show or anything, every single thing I do every day is just riddled with things that I learned by observing and being, a fly on the wall with De Palma. And it just, I really look up to him as a total mentor for my directing career, for sure.
It's definitely like you said, it's a lot different now, a lot harder to connect with people now. Because I've always, been blogging and contributing to fanzines and
Yeah.
podcasting and all that. And it's a bitch making connections sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It's not like you can't
Yeah.
write a letter and
Yeah. It took me years to Guillermo del Toro to write the afterword for my new upcoming book. It's just it's really hard. Now, I will say this, when I did call De Palma, he had not had a big breakthrough hit film yet. Phantom of Paradise didn't do well. Sisters was just a minor little, AIP B movie. And he had filmed Obsession, but it hadn't come out yet. And he was getting, starting to prep for Carrie. And Carrie, of course, became his big breakthrough movie. But his best friends, Spielberg had Jaws, George Lucas had Star Wars, and American Graffiti, and Coppola had the Godfather movies. All his buddies had these big breakthrough successes, but he hadn't had that yet. So it was about to happen with Carrie, but I got to him, when he was still kind of struggling and poor.
timing. Yeah.
It was timing. It was a great timing. But I'll tell you this, the casting session that he was doing that I cold called was, and I didn't know it at the time, was probably the most famous casting session in the history of cinema, because he and George Lucas were sitting at a table together reading every young actor in town for Star Wars and for Carrie. Everybody who came in were reading for both films. And actually, when I think about it, George Lucas had not had his Star Wars breakthrough yet, but he had American Graffiti, which was, very successful. So anyway, I mean, that I just would have loved to have been there. I wish I could have, been around to be a fly on the wall at those casting sessions. If I had been working for De Palma that early, I mean, just think of the amazing people that came through that room.
Yeah, even the ones that didn't get the gigs, like
Yes,
what young up and coming stars were.
no,
That's
it just
wild.
absolutely amazing. But yeah, it was something else. And when De Palma came to my school, he brought with him a cassette tape of the recording session he had literally just finished with Bernard Herrmann's score for Obsession. And Bernard Herrmann, for those who don't know, is considered the greatest film composer of all time. His first film he ever did was Citizen Kane. And he's also known for a little film called Psycho with the slashing violins and the shower sequence and everything else. Well, De Palma had used him for Sisters and then again for Obsession. And he had these brand new cues that no one in the world had heard. And he played them for us in a film class and went up to the chalkboard and said, okay, this scene, when you hear these horns going, he drew the storyboards of the scene and everything. It was absolutely incredible. And he said, and guess what? My friend Martin Scorsese, I talked him into using Bernard to score his latest film, Taxi Driver. And Bernard is in New York right now doing the Taxi Driver score. And then he talked about how Bernard had agreed to do his next film, Carrie, and they were already talking creatively about it. and he had given the book of Carrie to Bernard to read, the Stephen King book. Well, only about maybe 3 or 4 weeks after that, Bernard Herrmann finished the very last recording session of Taxi Driver and went back to his hotel and died. We were literally, I can't believe that I was listening to Herman's cues from Obsession almost a year before the film actually finally came out, and just a few weeks before Herman passed away. And also to just imagine how different Carrie might have been with a Herman score to it as well. Not to take away anything from Pino Donaggio's score, which was absolutely brilliant, and it's hard to imagine Carrie without that score. It's just, Pino's just absolutely amazing. But anyway, it was incredible to feel that sort of Bernard Herrmann connection prior to him passing away. And on the subject of Pino Donaggio, the composer, Pino, of course, did. I met him 3 times. He did when I was working for De Palma, he scored Home Movies, which I associate produced and production managed, the one with Kirk Douglas and Nancy Allen. And he also scored Dress to Kill. And then I worked for about a year on Blowout up until the time they were starting to shoot. And then Brian had me go and produce another film that he was overseeing called The First Time. But Pino scored Blowout, and then of course later did Body Double and other De Palma films. But then when I started directing, we got Pino to do the score to Oblivion, my sci-fi western for Full Moon, and it was again an absolutely brilliant score, and just I adore Pino's music, and was so honored and thrilled that he was able to do one of my films. So I was really proud of that.
It's so you did film school, but like you said, your film school was working with De Palma. Do you feel like you kind of started your schooling as a kid though, when you were visiting the sets, and was that kind of
Yes.
Do you learn more from that in like your conversations for Bazaar and talking with filmmakers and actors? Yep. Did you take more from that than you did in actual school?
Absolutely. I was, visiting those film sets as far back as 8 years old, making my own 8mm films and learning by trial and error, self-teaching, and then interviewing all the people that I did for Bazaar and visiting Man with the Golden Gun and watching that, and just, and other film sets. I watched them shoot Great Expectations with Margaret Leighton and Michael York on the day that her wedding dress catches on fire. And, it was like, oh my Lord, it was just, I had the most charmed childhood and self-teaching through observation and making my own little films and stuff. By the time I got to film school at the University of South Carolina, I was so far advanced to the other students that it was really just kind of biding my time. I just continued making my own films, but not really from what I was learning in school. It was just a continuation of what I'd already been doing. So, by the time I got to start working with De Palma, I was pretty advanced already, and then again, just learning by watching and observing and seeing how the big boys do it. And it was incredible. I'll tell you one of the most important lessons I learned on the first day of Kirk Douglas on The Fury. He came in and gone through makeup and everything already, and Brian was ready to start shooting the scene, and Kirk said, Brian, just hold on a few minutes. I've got something to do. And he went around the room and introduced himself to every single crew member, asked what they did, and shook their hands and took the time. And Brian was getting a little annoyed at this delay. but Kirk was not about to start shooting the film before he did the gentlemanly thing. And I was so impressed by that. But I was even more impressed when the next day Kirk came on the set and he went around and said hello to everybody and said them by name, had memorized and learned every single person on the crew's name. And the crew couldn't believe it. That had never happened to them. And they were absolutely in love with that guy. They would have gone to the ends of the earth and done anything for him. It made such an impression on me. And so I do that on all of my films. I make sure that the first day I introduce myself to everybody on the crew. I learn their name. At the end of each day, I go around and shake everybody's hand and call them by name and thank them for what they've done, and treat everybody on my crew as an equal. There's no hierarchy. It doesn't matter if you're a production assistant or a producer. It's one big family. And I learned that from Kirk. He absolutely was set the example, and was just the nicest, most professional guy. And wow, it just was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I think that attitude makes all, the crew feel more like you say, like a family. You're part of the thing. You're not just, it's not another job. You're part of the thing.
Absolutely.
So you're going to give more of yourself to it also.
Yeah. Phoning it in. Nobody was just doing it for a paycheck. It suddenly became a family. It became a personal thing. Everybody wanted to please. Everybody wanted to show Kirk that they were doing their best work. It was incredible. I will say that a little tale out of school. De Palma was not quite that way, and I think, I always felt that had he been had the same kind of outgoing love for his crew the way that Kirk had, that that it would have been better, a better way to do things. And so, I was learning what to do and what not to do. It went both ways.
Right. So we mentioned a few minutes ago how it's definitely times have changed and it's not easy to connect with people and learn from people the way you have. That being said, what is probably one piece of advice you would give, besides the story you just told, which was really good advice too, to an aspiring filmmaker?
Well, this is what I tell all young aspiring filmmakers. It's a tough business. Very, very tough. You've got to deal with a lot of rejection, with a lot of, development hell, where you are asked to rewrite your script 1,000 times and given notes by investors and executives who may or may not be well versed in film and not understand really what you're doing. And you sometimes have to bite the bullet and do things that you feel compromise your integrity and everything else in order to just get something off the ground. And it can be, it can just be a very soul crushing business. You've got to have it just has to be in your blood that this is what you were born to do, and you're not going to give up. When people tell me, oh, I'm going to come out to California and I'm going to give it 2 years and see if I can get my career going, and if it doesn't happen after a couple of years, then I'll go back to Peoria and get a quote unquote real job. And what I say to them is just don't bother to come. You're not going to make it. If you're not in it for the rest of your life, if you're not willing to dedicate yourself to it, then don't bother. There's too much competition. You're just going to get lost in the sea of people who are trying to make it in the business. And you've got to be willing to say to yourself, you know, I may never get a film financed. I may never get a film off the ground with a major studio. I may never get a network to back me. I am still going to be a filmmaker because I have an iPhone, and fucking Steven Soderbergh has shot entire feature films on an iPhone. And that's all I need is an iPhone to make a film. And I can keep making films the rest of my life, never make a dime doing it, but I'm going to be doing it because it's in my blood and I have to do it. I have to do it in order to nourish my soul. And if I have to have a different, a job, a quote unquote regular job, whether it's waiting tables or, you know, an Uber driver or whatever it is to earn a living, I'm still going to be a filmmaker. Then yes, you have the right attitude and you pursue it. You could, and you don't have to come out to California to pursue it either. You can be anywhere. And I love, it was so cool to go to the Queer Screams Film Festival last weekend and meet several young filmmakers who are, you know, working their way up. They made short films that showed at the festival. I was so impressed with their work, so much more advanced than people in similar positions back in the days of when I was young, because the technology is there. You're able to just do things so much more professionally now. You know, it's not 8mm silent cameras with 3 minutes and 20 seconds per reel. You know, you can pretty cheaply, or using your iPhone, you can get really professional looking shots and perfect sound. And I mean, it's just, I'm so impressed. And, you know, in so many ways wish that I had all of those toys at my disposal back in the day. But at any rate, I just think it's really has to be in your blood, and you have to be obsessed and you have to be dedicated for you to really last in this crazy business.
I'd say that's pretty good advice. Gotta be dedicated and have that tough hide.
Yes,
I'm sure that helps too. I'd say this is probably a good point to thank you for hanging out and taking time with us and the listeners. A lot of these stories that he told us are in the book. You guys should definitely check it out. It's just like the tip of the iceberg of the stories in that book. I listened to the audiobook, and I need to get a physical copy. I know I need to see all the pictures and everything, but just the audiobook, the production felt like a whole thing in itself. Like you said, was it 22 hours?
20 hours, I know. And all these incredible guest stars and everything. It was just, I had so much fun doing that. It is a production in and of itself, but you really do need both because of 600, you're missing 600 photos.
Now, is the Frankenstein True Story book, is that getting the audio?
It will not. Oh, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
But there is.
Sounds like this book is twice as big as the last one, so audio would be kind of tricky.
Yeah, it's I do have the 3-hour audio commentary of Frankenstein: The True Story on the Blu-ray that Shout Factory put out. So if you do want to hear me talk about it at great length, that's probably good there. But the book, I just felt in this particular case with Frankenstein: The True Story, so much of it is the photographs. There's 1,250 of them, and I just felt like, no, I really, really, really want people to get the hard copy of the book and be able to see all the visuals that I'm referring to, because a lot of the text is explaining what you can actually see in the photograph that's right there on the page, kind of thing. And I just didn't think it would lend itself as easily to an audio book this time around. But both books, the first one, to remind everybody, is called I Was a Teenage Monster Hunter. And then the new book coming out next month is the epic saga behind Frankenstein: The True Story. And both of them are exclusively available on Amazon. You can't pre-order the Frankenstein one yet. We won't have any pre-orders. As soon as it gets listed, it'll be available, and it's probably late September, early October. And yeah, check those out, and then look up on IMDb my film list, and you can be watching out for my films on streaming and whatnot. There's over 50 of them. My most recent was a Hallmark movie that we shot in the spring that just premiered in May on the Hallmark Channel. It was called Love in Zion National Park.
Is there any films coming up anytime soon? Are you going to be directing anything?
The strikes are going on right now, so everything is on hold. And I'm still waiting to see if they get a waiver to do a Christmas movie that I've been signed to do, but that could get postponed until next year. I just don't know. So we're kind of all in this kind of weird limbo, and we were in limbo for 2 years with COVID, and I just hate having another limbo period.
Just get back to work, and then that's
barely got back to work again. But at any rate, it's giving me some good quality time to finish up this Frankenstein book and to promote it and get out there and go to conventions and go to film festivals like the one in Portland and like the upcoming one in London, which I'm so excited about in November. And so I'm a fanboy and monster kid, and I love all this stuff, just like everybody who's listening. And so I'm happy as a clam.
What's the best way for people to keep up on you and your stuff?
Best way, I'm old school. Oh, I'm old. I'm 67. So yeah, I'm a Facebook guy. What I love about Facebook is you can do long text posts, and I'm always telling stories, and I need the space. Whereas and I am on Instagram, but a lot of my Instagram posts are edited versions of ones that are on Facebook. So if you really, you're better off checking me out on Facebook if you're on there. But I am on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as Sam Irvin, and I'm on Instagram as Sam_Irvin_director. And so you can find me in both of those places. I'm kind of at the limit of 5,000 friends on Facebook, but I think you can follow me if sometimes I'll go through, and anybody who's deactivated, I eliminate, and it frees up a few spots. So it's sort of hit or miss that I can respond to a friend request. I hate that they have that damn limit. It pisses me off. I don't see any point in it. But at any rate, and you can certainly follow me easily on Instagram.
Well, great. Again, thanks for taking time. Congrats on everything. Just the great career and exciting life, and congrats on they gave you an award at that film festival last week too. What was?
Thanks for promoting that. I feel like all I do is brag. They gave me a career achievement award, which was like I said, is that like putting me out to pasture? Is my career over? And there's no. It's just a midlife career achievement award.
Honoring what you've done so far.
What I've done so far. There we go.
Cool. Well, Sam, thank you again. It's great finally getting to chat face to face, even though people won't get to see our faces, but it's okay. Yeah,
it's great talking.
Okay. They got some great stories, and it was definitely an honor and pleasure, and always an inspiration hearing your stories, because like I said, I'm doing the hustle, podcasting and writing for zines and blogging and trying to network and meet people. So I definitely learned a lot from the Monster Hunter book. So
that is great.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I love it.
Hey, I'm Felissa Rose, Angela from Sleepaway Camp, and you're listening to the Steve and Crypto Show. Yeah!
All right, we are back. Thank you again a million times to Sam Irvin. next time you got a book coming, let's fucking talk again. You got a movie coming, maybe around holidays. If you got some Hallmark Christmas movies coming out, we'll talk about them.
Yeah, and again, Steve, you mentioned it before the chat, but thank you to Sam for being so inviting and personable and
feel like an old friend.
As you said, accessible. Because I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys listening enjoy that too. You know, being able to chat with these people and realize, oh, they're just normal folks like us, but they have some great stories to tell.
Yeah, I love his work and what he's done. But there's a lot of people that I wasn't a big fan of. I was a fan. I've been a fan of his stuff. I've been wanting him on for a while, and you know that. And
yeah,
I've been trying to make it happen. But there's people you're not a big fan of, like a band or something. You'll see, they were all right, and then you meet them and they're super cool. So you want to support them, and it's even more so. I would want you to support him anyways. But as good a dude as he is, I want you to support him more. Just support his craft, but also support the person.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you want to support them more when they're actually a good person. He's a nice guy, and that makes you want to help him out even more. 2 examples of what you were just saying. People that I'm not fans of, for what they're famous for. I'm not a Post Malone fan. Not into his music.
He does cool shit.
Not into his music, but he does cool stuff. And the more I listen to little interviews and clips and see how he is with fans, I like the dude. Yeah, he's a nerd.
He's a good dude.
I like the dude. He seems so nice, very respectful. I listened to a 3.5, 4 hour podcast with him and Joe Rogan, and he just kept calling Joe sir, and thank you, sir, and just I like the guy. He's cool. I don't like your music, but damn, you're good. You're a cool guy.
Like that dude that pulled that fucking magic card. He bought it from $2 million. He made that guy's life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's because he's a nerd. He probably wouldn't have had to pay that much.
Yeah.
But he probably just came forward and was like, here's $2 million.
Because he can.
Because he can. And he's kind of paying it forward. People supported him and made him where he is. Now he's like, all right, let me help this fellow nerd out.
Yeah.
And make his life. And I can have this cool thing.
Oh, yeah. He knows how it is. I mean, he's a fellow nerd.
Yeah.
But second example, real quick, just watched yesterday with Sarah. We watch Hot Ones a lot, and sometimes it doesn't matter if we like the guest or not. Still going to watch just to see the painful interview. We watched NSYNC on there.
Yeah.
And
it was good.
All 5 of the dudes were pretty entertaining. I mean, I've already seen Timberlake on SNL, and that's another example. I don't like his music. Dude's pretty funny on SNL.
Yeah, they're just performers.
What's his name? Chris from the group? Chris Kirkpatrick or whatever.
One of them.
He was pretty funny.
Yeah.
He just kept making little one-liners here and there,
that dude, what is the host name of that?
Sean Evans.
He's a great interviewer.
Yeah.
I like him. He's one of my favorite, probably top 10 interviewers right now that are doing things.
2 great interviewers, Sean Evans and Nardwar.
Oh, yeah.
Have you
he's
seen
crazy.
him?
Yeah.
That dude pulls out shit that
weird.
The people he's interviewing didn't even know about.
Yeah.
He'll break out some record and give it to them. They're like, where did you find this?
Yeah. My favorite's still Mick Garris.
Yeah.
Which, awesome for him. They came up with a tentative deal for the Writers Guild in the studios, so that's good. Hopefully he's getting back to work, and let's get the actors. Let's give the actors their due as well, and not rip them off.
Yeah, they deserve it.
Make a deal for them too. Hopefully the writers got a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, again, thanks, Sam. Make sure you guys visit our friends at Halloween Shirt Company, HalloweenShirtCompany.com. Go to Expedition Roasters. Enter the coffee verse. Try some of their flavors. Use the code SteveCrypto.
You're going to love it.
Get some deals.
Go to Etsy. Get yourself a shirt. Get a magnet. Get that coffee mug. Take a picture with all that stuff and tag us in it. Go to the Facebook group and join. Show us what you've been working on. Show us what your friends are working on.
What else? Patreon. Go to Patreon. Join a Patreon. Small pledge. Little as $1 a month. You get access to all the stuff we put over there. Crypto's been doing a lot of shit, doing a lot of concerts and stuff. We've been talking about that kind of stuff over there lately.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm just going to tell you. If you want to hear about the recent trip to see Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie, we're going to go talk about that real soon.
That's coming. And yeah, I think that's about it for this month. Halloween is coming. Halloween's coming. We have a lot of things planned. Ideally, we want to put out 4 episodes for October. I'm trying really hard to do that. You're going to get at least 2, just like every other month, but maybe 3. But our goal is 4. We're going to have music. We're going to have some fun, spooky lists of like top 5, this, that, or the other things. Might have some guests. We're going to promote some stuff. We're going to have some giveaways. We're going to have some prizes. We're working on a nice little pile of prizes. So you guys stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you can listen to podcasts. Make sure you leave us reviews wherever you can. Keep listening. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell your grandma. Tell your kids, but maybe it might be a bad idea. If you're here in the Northwest, come see us at an event. Go to Crypto Zoo's Halloween party.
Yeah.
Down
I
at
really want to see you there.
Fucking
Alcohol plant.
Mill. I almost call it the alcohol mill. It's the alcohol plant.
Yeah, the old alcohol plant. You can go to their website or go to Eventbrite and get tickets right now.
Just go find Crypto Zoo online, and he's posting about it. So you'll see the details, and it'll pop up in the Steve Crypto Show Facebook group as well.
Yep.
So go do that. Get ready for Halloween, and see you on 120.
Get to stepping. We'll see you on 127.
Trick or treat, motherfuckers.
Peace.